In today's video, I'll show you how to install and configure Unpackerr. Unpackerr is a tool to automate the extraction of compressed files. It supports several compression types, including RAR, TAR, ZIP, 7-zip, ISOs, encrypted RARs, and encrypted 7-zip files, plus several other types. Unpackerr also extracts recursively, meaning deep within folders, and archives within archives. In a nutshell, it checks for completed downloads and extracts them so programs like Lidarr, Radarr, Radarr, and Sonarr may import them. If your problem is RAR files getting stuck in your activity queue, then this is your solution. Let's get Unpackerr set up. But before we get started, if you haven't joined our Discord server yet, I'll leave a link below. It's a growing community where you can post questions and answers to tech questions, along with just hanging out with like-minded people. Join now so you don't miss out. On to Unpackerr. As always, the first thing you need to do is jump over to your Unraid server. Mine's already at the main tab. First thing we're going to do is click on apps. And in the search box, I'm going to type in Unpackerr. UNPACKERR. Go ahead and search for that. You'll find two different options here. We've got self-hosters version and Hoshios. I'll be choosing the Hoshio version. Find that in the list here and go ahead and hit install. You see it pops up in the attention window. It's basically just saying if you're using a VPN, you can use that within this container. And if you're not, you can go ahead and remove all the VPN related items. From here, we'll just hit OK to get rid of that message. Now it wants to know what branch we want to install. I'm going to do the default branch. Click on default. Now let's start going through the configuration. First thing I'm going to do is look for network type. We're going to change this from bridge to my custom alien proxy network. If this is your first time on the channel and you don't have a custom network setup, let me show you how to do that real quick. It's a really easy process. In the top right up here, we're going to click on the terminal icon to open up a terminal. Here you'll type in docker network create and then the name that you want the network to be called. It has to be all lowercase, like mine is alien proxy, but you can create whatever you want here. It doesn't really matter. Once you're happy with the name, go ahead and hit enter and it'll create it. I already have this, so it's going to throw up an error here saying it already exists, which is fine. But that's all it takes to create it. Once you're done there, go ahead and type exit. You may have to get out of the container and then go back in to have it show up here under network type. But once you've got your custom network set up, go ahead and drop down and select whatever custom network you created. Moving on, host path for config file. This is where the config information is going to go. Typically goes to the app data folder, which is where it's at by default. So I'm going to leave that alone. Next, we have host path for data. On my server here, everything is set up as a trash guides folder structure, so this will be no different. If yours is set up the same way, then just follow along. So it's going to be /mnt/user/data, followed by one more slash. Scroll down a little bit more. We'll look for show more settings, which is right here, the top option. We're going to expand that. And then this is where all the VPN stuff is listed. If you don't have the VPN set up in other applications like the BinHex, Deluge VPN or the qBittorrent VPN option, then you could enable it here if you wanted. I already have it set up in a couple different spots, so no sense in creating it again here. So I'm just going to skip over this, but if you need to set up a VPN on your system, then I'll leave a link to another video that I've done that goes through setting up the VPN I'll leave one for both, for Deluge and for the qBittorrent, just so you have them. The BinHex containers that I use for those makes it really easy to set up. This one's not bad though. It's got the same kind of options, generic, Proton, PIA, and PIA, that's what I use. Personally love it. I've been using it for years and I've had really great success with it. Prices are pretty good and the service is unbeatable. I've never had an issue with it. And if you don't have a subscription to the PIA VPN, Private Internet Access VPN, I'll leave a link to a 82% discount down in the description. It's a fantastic deal and a fantastic program. So if you need it, go check it out. Like I said, I don't need anything here, so I'm just going to go back up and close this out. So that's pretty much all the settings that you got to do here. You put in your path to the data file. That's it. Hit apply, let it do its thing. And while that's installing, why don't you come join us on Discord? I've left the link down in the description. And when it's done, go ahead and hit done. Now let's move on to the setup. We're going to need to open up the app data folder and then get to the Unpackerr config file. So let me bring my file explorer over here. I've already browsed to my app data folder, but for you, if you haven't been there yet, it's just // then whatever the IP address of your server is, and then another / and then app data. If that doesn't work for you, then you probably don't have the SMB setting turned on for it. So let me show you that real quick. You go over to shares, find your app data share, go ahead and click on it. Scroll down, you'll find SMB security here. Most likely yours is set to no. If it is, you can turn it on yes. That makes it visible for anybody. I like to have yes hidden just to make it just a fraction more secure. Not that that really does a whole lot other than hide it from general viewing. The best thing to do is to really leave it on no, and then go here and change it to yes. Go change what you need to change. Come back here, turn it back on to no. This is my demo machine. It's off most of the time, so I'm just going to leave it on yes hidden. And you're welcome to do that. It's not terrible. Once you've got that selected, hit apply. It'll modify the share and make it so you can browse to it. And when you're all done, go ahead and hit done. All right, back to the File Explorer. Once you're in your app data folder, we're going to scroll down and we're going to look for Unpackerr, which for me is the very last item. Go ahead and double click on it to open it up. You'll find the unpackerr.conf file, the config file. You're going to edit this with your favorite text editor. I like Notepad++, so I've made it the default. Now let's walk through these items and I'll give you a brief description of what they do. If you've never been inside of a configuration file, it may be a little confusing and daunting maybe, but they're pretty easy to understand. If you've ever edited a config file, then a lot of the stuff will make sense to you. If you haven't, just so you know, these hashtags in the front here, pound signs, those are all indicating that that line is a comment. So it doesn't do anything. It's just informational purposes. There are some below that are commented out. They're actual things that can be used, parameters, and we'll get to that. But something like this, the debug equal false is part of the actual config file. That's something that'll be used. All right, we're getting a bit off topic. Let's just move on. So debug equals false here. It says turn on debug message in the output. Do not wrap this in quotes. Currently it's false. False is off. For now, I've changed this to true, and you can always come back here later on and change it to false after you've made sure that everything is working and it's configured correctly. So just take out false and change it to true. Next option down, we have quiet equals false. This disables writing of messages to standard out and standard error. I'm going to leave that in the default of false. The standard error, I'm going to leave that in the default as well. Activity, we're going to leave that in false as well. Log queues, it's saying that the star applications activity queue is logged on a certain interval, and this is that interval. Default is a minute. I think that's fine, so I'm going to leave it on a minute. Scrolling down. This next section has to do with the log files themselves. You've got the option to write messages to a log file, which when you're first setting this up, I think it's a good idea. You'll notice here that a lot of this stuff is double hashtag. Those are definitely just comments, but this last item here is a single hashtag. That one is a variable. If you remove the hashtag, then it becomes active. So I'm going to remove that hashtag just so it becomes an active variable. So now we have log file equal, and then it wants a location. This is going to be the full data path. This is basically just asking where do you want to put the log files. And one of the variables in setting this up was a /config, which is where the app data is going. And I think that's a good spot for my log files. So I'm just going to change this to config with the / and then logs. And I'm going to get rid of the downloads option here and leave the unpackerr.log file. So when it's done, it's going to be /config/logs/unpackerr.log. I'm happy with that. I'm going to keep going down. Log files. How many do you want? By default, it's 10, so it'll keep 10 of them. I'm good with that, so we're going to move on. Log file megabytes. This is the size of the log files. So 10 megabytes, 10 files, a max of 10 megabytes each. Those are defaults. Those both work for me. I'll move on. Next, we have how often to pull the star apps, Sonarr, Radarr, etc. Recommended here says 1 to 5 minutes. The default's 2 minutes. Once again, I think that's fine. We'll keep going down. Most of the stuff's going to be on defaults. Next, we have start delay. This is how long an item must be queued in the download complete folder before the extraction will start on the file. Start delay default is 1 minute. I think that's great. We'll keep going down. Retry delay. How long to wait before removing the history of a failed extraction? The default value is 5 minutes, and that sounds good. I'll keep going down. How many times to retry a failed extraction? Max retries of 3. Once again, defaults. I think that's good. Keep going down. How many files may be extracted in parallel? 1 works fine. If you have a high powerful system and you expect multiple files to be downloaded and arrive at the same time, you could change this to a little higher number, but I don't really see a point in it. If it doesn't make it the first time around, it'll get it the next time. So I'm going to leave it on parallel equals 1. Next, we have use these configurations to control the file mods used for newly extracted files. Basically, this will redo the chmod to modify the file rights or the directory rights. The defaults are fine. We'll move down. Web server. Unpackerr has the option to do limited stuff with web servers. I don't have a use for it, so I'm just going to skip over that. You can see here it only currently supports metrics. We won't be using any of that, so I'll just scroll down. Folders. This is kind of a nice thing. Normally, if you have Radarr and Sonarr and LiDAR and all those things, they all go to their own separate folder once the download is completed. If you've done trash guide style, that is. But if you manually download something, it doesn't by default. It just kind of sits there in the group there. And on mine, I've created an other category. So anything that's manually downloaded gets set to other. That goes into an other folder. And then I've got Unpackr set up to monitor that location. And if something appears in there, it'll know to extract it. And it's all magic. It's nice. So let's go over that real quick. The top option here is the polar checks for it. Interval is set for 0 seconds. And if you read here, it says the default of 0 seconds will disable the polar on all systems except Docker. This is Docker, so that's good. We'll leave it alone. Setting this value to 1 millisecond will disable it in Docker. I don't need it disabled. I'll leave it enabled. So 0 seconds is fine. We'll leave it alone. And then the next option here, the buffer, it says, do not change this. So we're just going to leave it. Next down, we have this important, read this. Seriously, read it. It says the following sections can be repeated if you have more than one Sonarr, Radarr, LiDAR, Radarr, Wisbar, folder, webhook, or command hook. So basically, if you've got more than one instance of Sonarr, you can duplicate the entire block, paste it in, and then change it for your second instance. It's really nice if you have separate Sonarr instances, one for, let's say, just normal HD stuff and another one for 4K stuff. Then at the bottom here where it says all lines beginning with a hashtag are ignored comments, remove the hashtag from the config lines that you want to change. So we'll scroll down a little bit here till we're fully into the Sonarr section here. You'll notice, like I said, it's got a single hashtag in front. That means it's a variable that can be modified. We're going to go ahead and set it up for Sonarr. So I'll get rid of that hashtag. First thing it wants for the URL is the URL of your Sonarr container. So what that'll be is it'll be the http:// and then the IP address of your server. Mine is 10.0.0.11, not that number, 11, followed by colon, and then the default port for Sonarr is 8989. Mine is on the default port, so I'll leave that alone. If yours is not, and it's a different port number, then make sure to adjust that so it matches your port number for Sonarr. Next, we have the API key. Once again, we need to enable that line item. So remove the hashtag in front. I'm going to jump back to my Unraid server, find Sonarr in the list here. There it is. Open it up, log in. All right, to find your API key within Sonarr, you're going to go to settings, then down to general. Under the security section, it'll be down towards the bottom. If you don't see it right there, just go ahead and scroll down a little bit. You'll find it. I'm going to click the copy option to copy the API key. We'll go back to our config file, which is right there. And then the long string of alphanumeric numbers there, we are going to highlight all that, get rid of it, and then paste in your actual API key. And I'm going to scroll up. Next, we have path location. We're going to uncomment that. So for paths here, it's going to be the actual location of where your Sonarr files get written to. And it's going to be the complete location. So I'm going to do /data /torrents. I can spell torrents right. And then the location for my TV shows for me is under TV. And if you followed any of my other videos, then yours is most likely the same thing. So the path is going to be /data /torrents /TV. If you have TV shows on more than one path, then after the quote, you'll put in a comma and then another quote and then put in another path that you have. So let's say you have one that's /data /torrents / and then kids TV, like that. And then don't forget, you need one more quote at the end of it. And you can just repeat the process for each path that you've got, whatever it is. I don't have more than one on the demo one here, so I'll get rid of that. Just going to leave it on /data /torrents /TV, and it's in the single quote. All right, going down some more protocols, torrent. You can get rid of the comment in front of there. So this option here, it's basically asking you what protocol is this using. Is it going to be a torrent or is it going to be a Usenet client? My Usenet clients have the option to decompress the files internally. So for those, I don't need the Usenet. It's just on the torrent stuff. And I have done a video in the past on Extractor Plus, I believe is what it's called. And I'll leave a link to that too. So if you have the Deluge VPN container, you can put Extraction Plus in there and it does the same basic thing here. It doesn't give you the personalized, manual process ones. But if you don't have that or you don't want to use, the Extractor Plus, then by all means use Unpackr. It's pretty fantastic. All right, let's go down some more here. We've got timeouts. We'll get rid of that hashtag. We'll enable that. Timeout is at 10 seconds. That's the default. That's good for me. Timeout delay, once again, default to 5 seconds is good. We'll get rid of the comment out of the front. Delete original false. Get rid of the comment on there. And then on that one, I'm going to leave it on default. because it's going to leave the original there for seeding purposes, is why I leave it there. If you don't care and you just want to rip it right out, then you could set this to true and it would just delete the file as soon as it's done extracting it. Next option down here is sync thing. And you'll see here that it says if you use sync thing, setting this to true will make the unpacker wait for the syncs to finish. So it'll make sure that it's all synced up before it extracts it. I'm not running sync thing, so I will leave that just disabled. So that's all the settings for Sonarr. Like I said, if you have more than one instance of Sonarr, then what you can do is just copy this whole Sonarr line item here. So we'll copy this, right, including Sonarr, copy, go down below. I'll just throw another space in there just to separate it. Paste it in, change the URL, change the API key. Basically, you just go through and configure it like you did for the other Sonarr instance, just whatever the new one is. I don't need any of that, so I'm going to get rid of that. Next option down is Radarr. Once again, it's the same process, just like the Sonarr. You uncomment the URL, uncomment the API key, uncomment the path, protocols, timeout, delete delay, delete original. If you use sync thing, remove that comment. Set these settings to whatever Radarr settings are, throw in Radarr's URL here. I'm not going to do this whole thing because it's just exactly what we just did, but it'd be like that. Whatever the API key is. Same with LiDAR. Now I noticed there is a hashtag in front of here. You have to remove that hashtag in order to get this line of code to do its job. Once again, go through, remove these. I'm not going to bother with any of that. Radarr, same thing. Whisper, if you're running a Whisper server, it handles that too. One of these days I may do a video on that. I don't know. What do you think? Should I? Let me know in the comments. All right, so I'm going to undo what I just did here because I don't need those things enabled. Let me go back here. Sonarr, leave Sonarr alone. There we go. All right, so I'm going to go down here to the folder section and let's talk about that real quick. There we go. It says stop here. Stop. If you're only using the star apps, then the things above here are all you need to modify. If you want to do the custom folders and have, your manual downloads get processed into this, whatever folder it is, then this is where you do that at. So to enable this, we'd have to go down to the folder option here, remove this one hashtag in front. And then for path, we're going to remove that same hashtag. And this is going to be the location for where your manual grabbed torrents are going to go. For me, that is /data/torrents/other. Let me show you that real quick, just so you've got an idea of what I'm actually talking about here. If we go back to our server, data, you'll see torrents listed here. And then you'll see the different categories that I've got, the different, folders inside of torrents. So I've got, TV, which is what we worked with Sonarr. This is other. This is where the other downloads go. Go back to our config here. Next, we have the path to extract files to. The default is to leave it blank, and that means it's going to go to the same path that you have up here. If you want it to go somewhere else, you could uncomment this line and put in the path that you want it to go to. Next, we've got delete extracted or original files after the extraction. The default of 10 minutes is fine. I'm going to leave that there, get rid of that comment. Next, we have disable recursion. So this is going to be the ability to extract archives within archives. That, for me, I'm just going to leave it on false. I don't need it extracting stuff inside of there. If there's something in there I need to extract, I can do it. Deleted extracted files after successful extraction. Got to get rid of this comment. So the default here is set to false. You set this to true if you have other automation software that is processing the files. This can help to clean up the leftover files. Like I said, this is all kind of the manual stuff where I add stuff into it and I'm automating one thing of it just to extract the file. So I'll leave it on false. You have the option to delete the original. I leave it on false to let it seed out if it needs to. I will uncomment that line and just leave it on false. Next, we have the option to disable the log. I'm going to remove that comment. And for now, I'm going to leave it on false so that I can troubleshoot things if there's any issues. And after I'm happy with everything, then I can go back and set this to true so it doesn't log the stuff. Next, we have move back. I'll remove that comment from there, and I'm going to leave it on default of false. It's basically saying, do you want to move the files back to the original location after they've been extracted? We've already handled where they're going to go up here, so no sense in having that do anything. Next option down, we have extract ISOs. So if you wanted to extract the ISO image itself and get to the contents of the files, you can do that. I don't need that, so I'm just going to leave it on false. If you wanted to extract them, then go ahead and set that to true. And then once again, like the other ones, if you have more than one folder location, you can just copy this entire section, paste down below, adjust it for your other folder location, and you're good to go. Then down below, we've got webhooks and the command hooks. I don't use either one, so I'm not going to cover any of that stuff. Once you've got everything set, go ahead and save your file. Then exit out of the text editor. Now let's go back to our Docker tab here within Unraid. We'll find Unpackr in the list. We're going to have to restart it so that the config will take effect. Click on the icon, and then we'll click restart. Give it a moment, let it restart. It's restarted. I'm going to make sure to turn on the auto start so when I restart the server, it automatically runs. And while I'm here, I'm going to stick this into a folder. Let's see here. Let's call it a service. That sounds good. I'm going to click on service, scroll down, find it in the list here, add it to my folder, hit submit, and it moves it out of here down into my services folder. Right there it is. And that's pretty much it. There you go. Unpackr is now all set up and working. And at this point, I'd like to thank my patrons for their support. I really appreciate it. It really does mean a lot to me. So thank you. Patreon members get early access to my videos, and they're both ad and sponsor free. If you're interested in becoming a Patreon, I'll leave a link in the description. If you found this video helpful, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. It helps out the channel and allows other people to find this guide on Unpackr. Until then, check out one of these next. And I'll see you in the next one.